76, calm with a few clouds out and about here early this morning. Lots of humidity as well, so it's sticky feeling outside, but rain is absent from the radar. Just a little bit of clutter showing up with all the humidity in place. Dorian is a Category 1 hurricane now. It's not terribly impressive on its satellite presentation, but it has strengthened over the last 24 hours now with 85-mile-per-hour winds. It's a strong Category 1 hurricane, gusts over 100 miles per hour. So this thing is going to strengthen. That is not in question, and it's going to be a bad scenario for, looks like, somewhere along the southeastern Atlantic coast. The strengthening is likely going to happen as soon as it gets done or through with this little pocket of wind shear out ahead of it. It's the southwestern Atlantic that's very favorable for intensification. Also absent there, Saharan dust, so a little bit more dust to get through. But once that happens, this is going to strengthen and likely to a major hurricane by Thursday or Friday timeframe. And then the forecast cone includes all of Florida, parts of Georgia, and the track takes it right into central Florida. That's really not the important thing to note. That track could still shift either north or south over the next few days, but it does look like a Florida impact somewhere along that Atlantic side of the Florida coast. The big steering pattern or steering current for this thing is going to be high pressure parked between the Carolinas and Bermuda. If this is strong and a little bit farther to the west, it's going to push Dorian through Florida and then back into the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. But if that were to happen, all of the guidance is suggesting a quick northerly turn back into the either northern Gulf or panhandle of Florida. If this is weaker, this storm may just impact Florida and then curve up the southeastern Atlantic coast, and that's what the European is actually suggesting this morning. So either one of those scenarios would keep us away from the threatening parts of this storm. And we'll show it to you. This is the European model's rendition of how Dorian moves into Florida. You can see a much farther southern track on this, but then after that, it takes a northern turn as we work into Labor Day. For us, a little tropical wave out in front of Dorian is going to work into the southern Gulf and into Mexico on Monday. This will translate to some isolated to scattered showers on Labor Day and Tuesday, the early parts of next week. And you see how Dorian stays in Florida and wants to go to the north. That's the European weather model. Today, mainly sunny with only a rogue sea breeze shower possible, mid-90s in the afternoon, triple digits farther inland. Tomorrow, same type of deal, where we'll see that pop-up isolated sea breeze shower. Otherwise, sunny to partly cloudy with highs in the mid-90s. Today, middle 90s, 96 with the heat index of 106, just below heat advisory level. Mainly sunny with the southeast wind up to 15 miles per hour or so in the afternoon. Tonight, 78, partly cloudy, winds calm, less than 10 miles per hour. And the first 2 days of the upcoming 3-day weekend, Saturday, Sunday, look dry with highs in the mid-90s. On Labor Day, though, looks like that tropical wave's going to come in to the Mexico-Texas coastline, and that's what will contribute to the chance for isolated to scattered showers to come into play here Labor Day and Tuesday. Kristen?